Okay, today we are focused on the women's rights reform movement. So we're going to find out who the leaders are, what they did to make an impact, and did their impact last all the way to today. So the first thing we're going to do is not start working on this. You need to stop this video. You need to go back to Google Classroom and click on the video and the other video, and you're going to listen to a song called Let Us Speak Our Minds. This is not from this time period, so it's slightly entertaining, but this is a way that the women reformers tried to catch people's attention to join the reform movement. So I want you to listen to that song. The lyrics are also attached in Google Classroom. So stop the video, listen to the song, and when you're done, come back to the video so we can get started on our assignment. Okay, so women's rights reform. Who are leaders? I'm going to read this first paragraph to you, and then we're simply going to circle who are the leaders of this big movement. The two women in this photograph are Elizabeth Cady Stanton and Susan B. Anthony, two women suffragists. Remember, suffragists is the right to vote, add women, and then we're talking about the women's right to vote. These women were reformers, people who worked to correct injustices. They believed that women have equal rights, including the right to vote. We will be learning about how women that led the women's rights movement in the 1840s and how their work impacted the U.S. So, who are our leaders? Circle it now. You should have Elizabeth Cady Stanton and Susan B. Anthony. And we have a cute way that we'll make sure you remember that. Okay, so here's what they do. To get more people to join their movement, because this is a big deal to them, changing women's rights, reforming women's rights. So one of the big popular things they did is they held a convention. So we have conventions downtown, like George R. Brown Convention Center. So if you had a cheerleading convention or a train convention or a comic convention, think about what that is. What's a convention? A convention is somewhere people go with similar interests. So they're going to go to this, and they're going to see things and hear things. So it would be great if they named this the Women's Rights Convention, but they didn't. It's called the Seneca Falls Convention, and this is for women's rights. And why is it called the Seneca Falls Convention? Well, it was located in Seneca Falls, and that's actually in New York. So they call it Seneca Falls Convention because that's where it was located. So Susan B. Anthony and Elizabeth Cady Stanton are trying to get everyone amped up at this convention, and they come prepared with the Declaration of Sentiments. The last time we said declaration, we talked about the Declaration of Independence, and it's actually very similar. So the Declaration of Sentiments is the document they're going to pass out to everybody, and in this document is where we're going to have the grievances. You should remember what this word is. This word means a complaint. And we know we saw complaints in the Declaration of Independence, the colonial complaints. Well, this time it's women complaints. So they come with this document all organized where they are going to list their complaints. We're actually going to read what these women said and how they said it. So, Declaration of Sentiments, that's going to be the document passed out at the Seneca Falls Convention, led by Elizabeth Cady Stanton and Susan B. Anthony. And there's a picture of those little ladies right there. Okay, so what you're going to do is you are going to pause this video now, and you are going to read this paragraph and this paragraph to get some background knowledge. So please pause this video and read those two paragraphs. Now that you're done reading, we are going to actually read from the Declaration of Sentiments, this really, really popular document, surely sitting in some museum somewhere. So let's look at this. It says, read the excerpts below from the Declaration of Sentiments and determine what grievance against American society is being expressed. So let's look at excerpt A. Remember, they talk differently than we talk today, so we are going to read it and then put it in simpler terms. So he has permitted her to exercise her unalienable right to vote. I'm sorry, I'm going to reread that correctly. He has never permitted her to exercise her unalienable right to vote. He has compelled her to submit to laws in the formation of which she had not voice. So what is the complaint? What are women so angry about? Think about it. Reread it and tell me what the grievance is, what the complaint is. Okay, so women are upset because they do not have the right to vote. So what grievance is expressed? Women can't vote. It's still that time period where only men can vote. We talked about suffrage before. Around Jackson's election, more men can vote, but women are still too, quote, dumb, unquote, to vote. So why would you let them do so? So Elizabeth Cady Stanton, Susan B. Anthony are going to work towards changing that. Okay, so let's look at the next one. He has dominated nearly all profitable employments, and from those she is permitted to follow. She receives but a small pay. What are they upset about? So women are upset because, and there's lots of different ways you can word this. They can't have high paying jobs. They don't get paid as much because it says they receive but a small pay. So word that for number 2 how you would like. That women don't get the high paying jobs. They have less job opportunities. They get low paying jobs. Any way you want to put that, that's one of their grievances. And at any time, please pause this video. If I move too quick, simply pause it and complete your sentence. Excerpt C. He has denied her the facilities for obtaining a thorough education, all colleges being closed against her. What is the grievance expressed here? So again, you could word this in many different ways. So women are denied a college education. Women are not receiving as great of an education as men. Women want a better education. However you want to word that. So let's recap in really simple terms. What are the main grievances of the women's rights movement and in this document? So women can't vote, women have lower paying jobs, and women have their education lacks quality. Or you could say women can't go to college. So if you want to make this in more simpler terms even, we can say, what are our 3 issues here? Voting, jobs, education. Voting, jobs, education. And if I were you, I would simply put what I just said right here in simpler terms. Voting, jobs, education. Voting, jobs, education. Those are our 3 big issues these women are going to fight to reform. Okay, we're going to fast forward in time now. This is what happened during the mid-1800s. This is what's going on. Now all these people are dead, and let's fast forward to right now. So turn your paper over and look at the impact of the women's rights movement. So this is what we're looking at today. All of these are true. They're all facts. You're going to tell me if they are a gain, if these are evidence of a gain for women or not. So as you read these, you're going to put a check mark if it's a gain and an X if it's not. So I want you to pause this. I want you to read each one. And I want you to decide, is this something good? Is this a gain for women? I'm going to put a check. Is this not a gain? I'm going to put an X. So go ahead and pause the video and do that now. Okay. And you might want to fast forward that because I gave you your time. Alrighty, so women have the right to vote in every state. That's definitely a gain. In 2014, women earned about 79 cents for every dollar earned by a man. So that means that men, they're earning $1, women are only earning 79 cents. So that means women are getting paid less than men. That is not a gain. And I skipped the one above it. In 2012, 53% of voters were women. That is a gain, because that means actually there's more women voting than men. The fourth one, in 2012, 38% of women were college graduates compared to 34.6% of men. That means more women are graduating from college. That is a gain. In 1983, 16% of doctors were women. In 1995, 25% of doctors were women. Because there are more women entering the medical field, that is going to be a gain. The average lifetime earnings for a 50-year-old woman is $496,000, while the average lifetime earnings for a 50-year-old man is $1.1 million. So for a woman who is 50, so far in a lifetime on average, she's earned $496,000. For a man, by the time he reaches 50, his lifetime earnings are $1.1 million. So that is not equal. So that would be a gain. That means women are not earning as much as men. So here's where you have to give your opinion. You have the facts from the past, and then you have the facts from today. So you're on this line, you're going to, it says, to what extent have these grievances been corrected? So I'm going to kind of put this up here again. Jobs, voting, and education. So those were the three issues of the past from our two leaders. And so were these addressed? And you'll know that because you have the facts right here. So you're going to draw an opinion. So not corrected at all, somewhat corrected, or completely corrected. So you're going to pick one of those, put in one X, and then complete number 2. The grievances expressed in the Declaration of Sentiments have been blank. So either not corrected at all, somewhat corrected, completely corrected, because right here, this should be facts. Look at your notes. You don't have to make anything up. You've been given the information. So you have an opinion and back it up with facts. Do that now. Okay, so here's the last part of your assignment that you're going to complete. What impact did the women's rights movement have on life for women in the United States? So you're going to basically do what we just did, but a little more detailed, a little more organized, and more factual with more evidence. So your first thing is what is your opinion? You can, some people can argue either sides. You have to pick one. So the women's rights movement had a positive or negative impact. Pick one on life for women in the United States. So now you have your opinion. Then you're going to cite your evidence. How do you know it had a positive impact? You can't just say, I don't know. You use your notes. So for example, it had what type of impact? Or why do you think it had a positive impact? Look back at these two notes, the very, very past and the future. So, for example, it had a positive impact and explain. And then explain your reasoning. How does this evidence support your opinion? How does this prove your point? Why is your evidence important? Your goal is to prove a point to me. It's either had a positive impact or a negative impact. Some people like to use the positive, focusing on education and voting. Some people want to say negative because of the jobs issue. So this proves that the impact of women. So by this proves, your example proves that the impact of women's rights movement was positive or negative because. So again, explain how this backs up your opinion. And then finally, summarize this whole entire opinion. So as a result, you're going to just reword and restate your opinion and why you're correct, or restate this whole women's rights movement and their impact. Once you've planned up here, so there better be words up here, and this one, this one, and this one, you only have to circle here. You're going to rewrite it down here at the bottom. So this is where it's going to look beautiful, and it's going to look like you planned these 4 sentences out by yourself. It's going to be very well organized. You'll write that down there. I would make sure you read it out loud and that it makes sense and free of errors before it gets to me. So at the end, you need to make sure you understand, after you write this, who are the leaders of this movement. And I would make sure that I would be putting this in my evidence. I would be talking like a historian. So leaders of this movement, do you know who those are? How did they make an impact? Think back to the convention. How did they make an impact? So think about the convention. And then what was the impact? Think about the statistics from the current day. If you can explain each of these, consider yourself very successful for today. You understand the women's rights movement, and the biggest part of this, the impact that it made. And if you've done this correctly, you're describing what that impact is. And that is it.